Namaste and welcome to React Bits. Appwrite has just released new version 0.7, and with it has brought lots of new features, updates and fixes. We have already seen what 0.7 has brought to us in our previous video. In this video, we are going to write a Appwrite cloud functions with Dart and deploy it and see it in action. In order to continue with this tutorial, you need to have an Appwrite console with latest Appwrite version installed or that you can access. I'll be using the local installation of Appwrite 0.7. If you do not know how to install Appwrite, you can visit my previous tutorial series on Flutter Appwrite, where I have instructions on how to install Appwrite. Or you can also visit Getting Started page for Appwrite in the appwrite.io. So let us begin with our project. First, let us create a project folder. So in this tutorial, we will be creating a storage cleaner Appwrite function. So what it will do is it will delete certain files or the files in the Appwrite storage that are older than certain days provided by the user. So we'll call this function storage cleaner. So let us create our new folder. Okay, and inside this folder, let us create two files. Main.dart and popspec.ml, and let us open this in Visual Studio Code. So I'll be using Visual Studio Code. First, let us set up our popspec.ml with the dependencies that are required. So here, let's give it a name. Let's give it a version 1.0.0. Let's add Dart environment SDK greater than or equal to 2.7.0 less than 3.0.0. So this will be the Dart SDK that we want to use. And then under dependencies, let us add Dart Appwrite, which is at 0.1.0. So Dart Appwrite is the Appwrite's Dart SDK, not the Flutter one, but the Dart SDK that works in Dart native and Dart environment. So Flutter PubGet is running. If it doesn't run automatically, you can run it yourself, Dart tool, but later we'll need to make some adjustment. So in the main.dart, let us write our function. So we'll create a main function, then we'll import Appwrite. Appwrite. We'll initialize our client. And then we'll be using environment variables to set the details of our project. So for that, we can get the environment variables in Dart using platform, and this platform should come from Dart.io, not Dart.html. So you need to import Dart.io platform.environment. So this will give us the environment variables. Now we can set our client, set endpoint, Let's name it Appwrite endpoint. Okay. Set project. Appwrite project ID. This should be array bracket, not this. And finally, set key in vars Appwrite API key. So we will need our Appwrite endpoint, project ID, and API key for this function to run. Now, as we are going to work with storage, let us initialize Appwrite storage. This is our storage. Now finally, we need another variable, that is the days to expire. So when the files will be deleted. env vars, let's name it days to expire. Okay. Finally, so we want to get a list of files, and order type will be order type dot descending. Let's limit to 100 files. If you have many files, it will only load first 100 files. So this will be our data from the response, and then inside data we can read files. So files will be list from data files. Okay, and let's create a timestamp for this days to expire. So date time now, subtract duration days to expire milliseconds since epoch. So we'll be using timestamp in milliseconds, and let's initialize some variable deleted files. So we want to keep the record of how many files are deleted when this function runs. Now finally, for file in files, if file date created is less than, so if it's older than our days to expire, so if it's older, we want to delete it. And for this to work, as this is in milliseconds, we need to multiply this by 1000, because Appwrite stores date created time in seconds, not in milliseconds. It's Unix timestamp in seconds. So we check this. If it's true, then we will delete file. File ID will be file ID, and print, let's print deleted file plus plus. All right, and finally, when the for loop is finished, we can say total files deleted will be deleted files. Okay, See, we now have main, storage, res. So we now have our complete function that will delete any files in the storage older than days to expire that we have provided. Now we need to deploy this function in our Appwrite project. For that to work, what we need is all the dependencies installed should be within this folder. That is, our pop catch should be within this folder. Normally, the pop catch is stored in the system default. So in order to store pop catch in this folder itself, what we can do in our terminal, we can run pop catch. So pop catch uses pop catch environment variable in order to know where to store the dependencies. So we can override that, enter. Now we can run .pop get, and this will get the packages and put it inside the .appwrite folder right here. See, in our .appwrite folder we have hosted and we have all the dependencies including .appwrite and all other required dependencies. So once we are done with this, we can deploy it. But before that, we need to have an Appwrite project where we can deploy this. Once you log into Appwrite console, you can either work with an existing project or create a new one. I'll be creating new one. Testing functions. Once I have the new, let me upload few files so that we can test that our storage functions will work. Let me create one. Let me create two, and after a few seconds we'll create another one as well. And let's go to our function. So in the functions, first we need to add a function. We will call this storage cleaner, and in environment we will choose .2.10 and we'll tap create. If you do not see .environment in your functions, you can add it. So where you have installed your Appwrite, you'll find two files, dockercompose.ml file and .env file. And if in your env file you might find app functions envs. If this environment variable is not added, you can add it there. And once added, here are the list of environments that you want to make it available in your Appwrite functions. So you can add .2.10 so that it's available. And after adding this, you can just run docker compose op-d again in order to get the updated environment variables. Once we create the function, we can deploy tag, we can see the logs, we can add settings, and here we'll be adding our schedule or triggers or add a variable, environment variables. So first, let us see how we can deploy our function. In order to deploy, if we tap deploy, we see there are two options. We can either use Appwrite CLI or we can manually deploy it. So we will see how we can deploy using Appwrite CLI. If you have not already installed Appwrite CLI, please visit appwrite.io getting started with CLI page. The link is provided in the description in order to install Appwrite CLI so that you can use Appwrite CLI to easily deploy tags to your functions. So once we have this, we can just copy this, click here to copy this and go to our functions folder. Here from terminal, Currently I'm using fish shell and Appwrite CLI doesn't seem to work with it, so I need to switch to Bash. You can use any Bash compatible shell like ZSH or Bash itself. If this is the first time that you are using your Appwrite CLI or just installed Appwrite CLI, you need to init. So let us init Appwrite init. So it will ask for endpoint. As we are running in localhost, we can leave it as it is. Then we need the project ID. So we can get the project ID from here in our home settings. Here is our project ID. We can just copy this and paste it here. Next, we need the key. So we can create Appwrite keys from here. Let's add a new key. Let's call it CLI. Give it all the access and tap create. Let's show the secret, copy it, and let's paste it here. And finally, local, we can leave it as it is. So preferences saved successfully. Now we can use, so if you are inside a storage cleaner folder, go to its parent. So we can do dot from our parents, we can run tag creation function. So in order to create tag, we can use functions, Appwrite functions create tag, and hyphen function ID. We copied it, so we already have the function ID, and our command will be .main.dart, and finally our code is inside the storage cleaner folder. Using this, when we tap enter, we get that new function tag is deployed. Now we can see it in our functions settings. In overview tab, we now have our new tag. However, this tag requires certain environment variable. So let's set it up. Add variable. If you remember, we require Appwrite endpoint, and this requires our IP instead of localhost. This is because these functions run in a separate Docker containers itself. V1. Let's add another variable that we require project ID. We already copied it before. You can use the same project ID. And finally, API key. We can use the same key that we used for CLI for now. Let's update, and we can either run this in a schedule, and this particular function is suitable to run using schedule. So we can use a cron syntax. So 00. This will run this function every day. You can look at the cron syntax documentations. You can look up what syntax you need for different schedules, or you can also run this function based on event, but right now we want to run it based on the schedule. Now we can update this. Oh, we need one more variable, that is days to expire. Let's give it 2 days, or let's say 20 days. So we want to delete all the files that are older than 20 days. Let's update, and let's go to our overview page, activate our tag. Once we deploy, we need to activate it. Our tag is activated, and in order to test it whether or not it runs successfully, we can just tap execute now. And once we tap execute now, and let's go to the log, let's wait for it to complete. It's waiting. It has completed. We can check the output. Total files deleted is 0 because none of the files are 20 days old. In order to check it's working exactly as it is supposed to, let's change this. So change this days to seconds. So it will delete any files that are older than 20 seconds. So let's deploy it again. we have deployed. Let's go here in the overview tags. If we reload, we can see new deployment. We activate the new one. Now in the storage, let us add one more file, that is just recent. So let's add this, create. Now in the functions, let us execute this and view the logs. Once it completes, it has completed. Let's see the output. See, we have deleted 2 files, and if we go to our storage, we can see 2 files are gone, and this latest file is the only one there. So this is how you can write and deploy Appwrite functions or cloud functions in Appwrite 0.7 using Dart. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. See you again soon in the next episodes.